All right. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. Hooray. Yes, love a Friday. I'll take 10 of those, please. Charge me. Put on my credit card. Love a little bit of Friday. Simphiwe is here in the studio with me, and we are live. We're with you this Friday morning. Let us know what you're up to. Send us a message on the YouTubes. Unfortunately, I use this super old phone for phone calls. Have you seen how old that phone is? First of all, it's one of those, like, I don't know, Apple iPhone 7 or 8 or something like that. I mean, it's so old now, it's halfway through.
Oh my word, no.
Because like 14's a new one, so
yes,
7 would be halfway through the Apple like family. It would be like it would be like your little brother or sister who's half your age.
Yeah, and can't do any of the new stuff that you're so used to. You're just what the hell is this? The battery life is nonsense.
Battery. So yesterday, I was sitting in a meeting with Homolemo and with Rena, and I was like explaining how this phone doesn't, because she was complaining that her battery in her phone doesn't last the whole day. I'm like, that's pretty normal, even for a new one. So look at this old thing. I pulled it out. It was at 98%.
Can I guess how long it lasted?
Okay, wait. I'm going to tell you what I did, because it was quite power intensive. So I deleted all the apps on there except the one that we need for calls. Mm-hmm. And I think I kept like, you can't delete settings or, the ones that you've got to keep on there. Mm-hmm. So anyway, got rid of everything else. And the whole process took me maybe 5 or 6 minutes to delete all of these apps, right? Because there were quite a lot of stupid apps on there from when I last used the phone. It was down to guess what battery percentage by 6 minutes of deleting apps.
I would say a good 50. So it was like 50% because it was on 90 something, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I'd say 50.
65%. So you're close. You were 50% lower than expectation. But I mean, isn't that pathetic?
It is.
A few minutes.
So if you had used it for like 20 minutes, it's done. It's like on 1%. It's saying that I can't do this anymore. Please charge me right now. I'm about to switch off.
Yeah, no, that's what happens. So do not think that your iPhone battery is designed to actually be a battery. It's designed to destroy itself over time so that you have to buy a new phone.
That is true. That is also one of the greatest scams of all times. You buy a phone just for it to deteriorate, so you have to get another one.
No, it's part of, they build it in. They build in distraction. Rebellious Ruth says she loved, speaking of scams, your prime tasting vid sims. So not that you are scamming people by making videos about this, but that you think this stuff is a scam. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I think that there's all this. So schools are apparently sending around notices to parents to say we are aware of the prime thing that's going on, and we urge parents not to waste their money falling for this shit.
It is a waste of money. I think it's way overpriced. Mm-hmm. But I just had to figure out what's the hype about. Like, is this a good drink? Is it not? Mm-hmm. And I had 3 out of the 4, and out of those 3, I only enjoyed 1.
Okay, well, you see, no point. I'm telling you, and
I was like, for $40, no, I can still get a better drink. That's way cheaper.
Ryan comes under fire a lot on this show, but thank God he's paying attention to all these trends and things that I couldn't give 2 shits about, because he knows what's going on there. And therefore, if we don't have Ryan doing all this stuff for us, we're going to miss out on what's happening. So I'm very happy he's doing it. But I do not ever need to have Prime again in my life. And I'll be fine.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
Right.
I'm just like, no, dude, this is great. And what was so funny, let me actually expose Ryan. So when I saw that Checkers had gone this deal, it's $40, I was like, you know what? I'm willing to spend some money now. I sent Ryan a text, dude, tomorrow, let's get some Prime. Does he not blue tick me and then go on Twitter and tweet that he's gotten all the Prime bottles without me?
Oh, so you're saying it was your idea?
Yes.
Well, good for him. He moved faster than you. That's how it works these days. An idea is no good unless you execute, right?
Yes. And I was just like, my partner in crime. Oh, my word.
No, the people who will win in 2023 and beyond are the ones who take other people's ideas and act upon them before those people with the ideas even get a chance to get out of bed. We often on the Friday show, we share tons of brilliant business ideas. Someone's going to pick up one of these things and we're all going to sit here going, oh, it's so unfair. We came up with that on the show. It's not right. Like somebody's made a huge amount of money for that. Blah. Watch.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's on the way. Vyasan says an old Nokia 2110 could jumpstart a car.
Sure.
Yeah. Didn't they find one in a drawer somewhere? Someone switched on a Nokia 3310, I think it was. It was in a drawer for like 10, 12 years.
Sure.
And the thing was, it switched on.
That's how they need to start building phones. Please bring that back. I don't know what it was about that phone, but that phone is the one.
Have we wasted money on phones? Let's just forget about the actual technology, which we all agree is like a good thing. And let's all agree that we couldn't live without them. No matter how smart you are, how disciplined you are, you can't live without this damn thing. But think about the number of actual devices you've bought and that have been thrown in a drawer, or that you've given to someone else in the family or a friend or the housekeeper or whoever, because you're like, oh, well, I've got all these extra phones. But you stupid idiot, you paid for them with hard-earned money, and they were never cheap.
Oh,
they
never.
were never cheap.
But I also look back and how excited we got for like the simplest things. So like it was first the Nokia 3310, and like that for me was like the first phone that I was like, oh my gosh, like granny, sister, hook a sister up. And then I think the second phone was the Samsung E250. It could put a memory card, and you just like, and it had 2 megapixels of camera, and you're like, oh my gosh.
I'm going to show you what I spent money on. I bought this phone for myself when phones were still a big deal, and I thought I was such a cool, like I was the coolest guy in the world, right? I bought this thing, and I loved this phone. I must have bought 3 of them through the course of my like Nokia phase before I got onto iPhone. But I thought this was the coolest thing ever.
Oh, wow.
It was made of like brushed aluminium. It had a little slide down cover, which you pressed a button and it slipped, like it popped down. Had this blue, like pixelated screen.
Sure.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I loved my phone. And I went through 3 of them because they just, they were broken. I dropped it between the seat and the door or whatever in the car. And they were expensive phones. Went through about 3 of those things.
Okay.
I loved them.
Okay. I think like my most favorite phone of all times was the Sony Walkman. It was when like music was still getting introduced to phones and stuff. That phone was like the it thing. I was just like, this is the girl that everyone's trying to be. And then of course, let's not forget the BBM era where $60, you had unlimited internet, bring that back.
Blackberries.
Yes.
Remember that shit?
Yeah. Yeah, and then there was once upon a time a phone, La Chocolate. You could swing it. It was an LG one, something La Chocolate, I think. But you could swing it up, and then it had like only 2 buttons. I remember that one.
Well, I mean, just the idea of like a touch screen is like so normal now.
Oh yeah,
it was never a thing before.
Oh no, and like I remember just how bulky they were. There was like. When you could, I remember the time you could just like slide up the one and it will go sideways and you could.
Yeah. And everybody was like, "Oh, this is so cool! This is like the best technology ever." And people used to carry those big ones around because they could fold open and do this and please. Now we look ridiculous, right?
Yeah, now we all have like iPhones and we're all complaining about battery life. Life was so much simpler back then. All you needed to do was have airtime and one app of games.
Well, Vyasan says rightly that Snake was the only game on those old phones, but we loved it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, unmatched.
And then Vyasan also says Prince Charles could never use that Nokia with his big fat pork sausage fingers. So people are turning that shit against that poor man. I saw, by the way, I turned on Sky News for all of 5 minutes yesterday. Oh, what a stupid mistake. You should never watch that channel ever. It is just absolute trash and rubbish from beginning to end. Everything's political. Now, I mean, the British are like the most excited they've ever been as a nation, right? Because there's this coronation coming up and they can't wipe their asses without thinking about the king. Anyway, I mean, it is an exciting event, and I talked about it with Pumi yesterday, and we're not going to go down that road again. But I turn on Sky News, and what are they doing? They are undermining their own happiness. This is so British. This is so like the English in particular can never be happy. They must always rain on their own parade.
What did
So
they
they're
do
getting
now?
excited about the car. The average person in Britain is excited about this because it's a big party on Saturday. There's street parties all over, people eating and drinking and, go save the king and all that sort of shit. Not Sky News. No. They have to go to Jamaica where they talk to the most political people they can. And they're like, do you really still need a king? Do you still want to be part of the Commonwealth? Do you still want Charles to be your king? They like trying to find ways to make it miserable. And they will. Then they interview the New Zealand Prime Minister, and he's like, well, and he's some new dude who's just taken over from Jacinda Ardern, and he looks like the kid that you bullied at high school, this New Zealand Prime Minister. Really, just a sad, like, little man. He's got some nondescript name, like Tom or Dustin or Justin or something like that. Anyway, he's on TV and he goes, well, I don't think New Zealand wants to be ruled by a king. And not that they are ruled by a king. I mean, who in New Zealand wakes up in the morning and is worried that the king is going to come and chop their head off? Yeah. And he goes, we'll probably be a republic soon. Why are they interviewing these people now? Why are they trying to undermine their own happiness? They would be like us the day before the 94 elections going, well, we've got freedom, but let's not forget that everything's going to be a fuck up straight after that. You know what I mean? It's like they try to make themselves as unhappy as possible. Anyway, you watch, and then they had some poll on, and this is all in 5 minutes. I wish I'd never turned it on. All in 5 minutes. They're like, tonight we're doing a special on Sky News where we will be asking the question, is it time to get rid of the monarchy?
Yawns. No.
They're like, you got to be kidding. Are you guys serious? And they've got that fucking horrible Kay Burley, who is she is the absolute, the buzzkill of all buzzkills. Like she's like, she was grown in a lab to make people unhappy. And then they put her on TV and the national morale drops by like 50%. When, hello, I'm Kay Burley. I'm here to tell you everything that's shit. I'm about to tell you how horrible the world is and how awful you are.
Please
and how
stop,
politically
Gareth.
incorrect.
This is making me sad and I didn't even watch it.
Right. So I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I turn this horrible show on? Oh,
no.
And I promise you, it was only 2 seconds later that they were on about like climate change and how the world's going to die in 5 years' time. I'm like, why would people watch this channel? Why am I watching this channel? I switched it off. And it took me about 10 minutes to reset myself, but I got out of that.
That is so sad. I mean, this is such a great week. They should be celebrating. If anything, you'll ask those questions after the celebrations. Like, not whilst we're still building up to it. It's a few days.
It's like some people, though, and I can't help thinking that people like this have started to take over businesses and corporations and the media and all the rest. Some people wake up in the morning and their intention is to be cross and to be sad and to be miserable all day.
That is very sad. Like, I feel sorry for people like that because I'm like, it takes so much more energy to actually like just put out negativity than it is to just have a good day.
Imagine like today, I woke up and I was excited to get up and I'm like, it's Friday, and came in here and I was singing a song, and then I was looking forward to doing the show, and you and Ben's coming in just now, and we got guests popping by, and we got George, and then it's the weekend, right? Like, so excited, and we're celebrating the little thing we're doing here with a cake, and we're gonna, it's like our 9th birthday. And anyway, I think there are some people who they've forgotten what joy feels like, and so they want to make everyone else as miserable as them. I'm staying away from people like that.
Don't do that thing to yourself. Enjoy life. Like, take a deep breath. I think the one thing people should ask themselves or say to themselves, it could be worse. Like, whatever situation you're going through, it could be worse. So enjoy the fact that you're alive and that you're breathing and that you still have like, what, 5 rand in the bank account, or you're still able to walk or still able to do something. Get internet. It could be worse. There's no reason to be an asshole. It does not change the price of bread. It really doesn't.
Oh, so I looked up the guy. His name is Cross Hopkins.
Oh, my word. It's the name.
The New Zealand Prime Minister. His name is Cross Hopkins. Now, you can't have a worse name than that if you're New Zealand, because that I sound is just the worst sound in the New Zealand accent, right? And this is the dude. I'm going to show you a picture of him because people are talking about him in the comments section, and they are so right. He is basically a Sean Pollock doppelganger. I mean, he looks like Sean Pollock, the former Protea cricket captain and famous world cricketer. Anyway, but he's this little Chris Hopkin. Look at this guy. He looks like, doesn't he look like the kid that you bullied at high school?
Oh, definitely.
Right?
With that kind of name as well.
And
I'm
that
sorry.
hairstyle and
everything with the big ears, and he's just like so nerdy.
This is the kind of person who can rise to the top in a society like New Zealand. Now, call me a pot calling the kettle black, because we've got like shitty politicians, right? We've got lots of them. But at least I think Cyril could beat him in an arm wrestling match. I think I could beat him in an arm. You could beat him in an arm wrestling match.
I'm not sure about Cyril, but I could.
No, maybe Cyril couldn't.
Yeah, I would place some money on you, on myself. Yes.
I think we could easily fuck that guy up. If he came here and he is like had attitude.
And I wouldn't have to do anything. You just give him a look. You just like, what? What are you going to do? You know, you just...
What a horrible looking little guy. Anyway, he's on TV now. He's, mouthing off. First of all, what bad manners is this? You go to someone's country to attend their party. Like, that's what it is. It's the king's party, right? I'd like to invite you. And he invites this turd. And then the guy goes on TV and says, we'll get rid of him somewhere in the next couple of years. What bad manners is that? It's like me saying, Simphiwe, I'd really like you to work at Cliff Central. We're going to pay you this much. And if you'd like to come and work for us, this is what we could give you in terms of career options. And then you go to another media organization, you go on the TV or the radio there, and you're like, oh, this guy is such a whinging pain in the backside. And I'm like, I just offered you a job. Like, what am I going to do now? Right. This
Fire
guy,
that person.
Come on.
That's the easiest way. You must get rid of your enemies, you know?
Fundo says he looks like a hamster. That's about right. Or the guy from Mad Magazine. That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, look, I mean, I didn't mean to attack this dude. I just thought, what a strange little person to be like the leader of a country. It's like someone made a mistake and
like
someone found some kid in like, a second year varsity that suddenly was what? You made me prime minister? Like, come on. Anyway,
these things happen, but he's not going to be prime minister for long. Or I think something's going to happen, because you can't be saying such things, just on air. Oh yeah, they're gonna get rid of him. Wow.
Carl says, Gareth, if the South African government went to the shit politicians Olympics, we'd win every event. Yes, we would, and we win the gangster events, and we win all of those things. The ones that we don't want to win, we would win.
Yeah.
Paul says, negative people will suck the soul out of you. Stay away. Well, I made a decision at the start of this year that I'm not going to spend time around people like that. And I've mostly stuck to it. I've mostly been around people who I've found inspiring and energetic and positive and optimistic. And I've done something which I think has been both good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've spent a huge amount of time around people who are way more successful, way richer, way more influential, way more powerful than me,
mm-hmm.
which can demoralize you if you're in a bad state of mind, because you compare yourself to those people and you feel like you haven't achieved anything. I mean, I was at dinner last night with a friend of mine who I haven't seen nearly enough of. He and his wife now live in PE, and they've got a little girl. And I mean, he's tremendously successful, and I love seeing him. And it always makes me feel better. And his wife's such a winner, and they're just lovely people. And we were sitting with some other people who are all also just tremendously successful. And I was looking around this table thinking, I am definitely the least successful person at this table. And I was okay with it, because I was listening to their conversation and asking them questions and talking, and kind of we were all just catching up with each other. And I was totally comfortable with not being, the prize bull at the table.
But that's good.
I think so. What do they say that thing about if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room?
Yes.
Right.
But also that I recently read something that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you've changed your circle and you're starting to hang out with like more successful people, more intellectual people.
That's bad news though for people who want to get a divorce. Right? Someone who's married to someone and they spend the most time with that person, but they fucking hate them. And it's just going.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Or you hate your children and they're around you the most. Imagine if your children are real little shits.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they would be because you are, right?
Yeah, but
Mostly.
also, no, I do believe that some parents give birth to demons.
Just monsters.
And they
Monsters.
Sorry. This is why we don't want to have kids. But yeah, it goes back to like that. Like you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you're spending time with like incredible people, guess what? You'll be incredible.
Hope so. Here's hoping. I'm always looking to improve. So let's see what happens there. Because of a necessity towards adoption, the brain has a 60% output of negative thinking. You have to rise above your brain to have a happy day. Yeah. We know about these preset conditions that, the brain is activated to respond to bad news, danger, threats, negative emotions, information that could prejudice you, the stuff that you probably shouldn't be on a diet of. And I would include in that most news, social media, all that stuff. So yes, parallel parking is spot on here, but it's not so much working against your brain. It's training your brain to see through that stuff. While that information can be very handy, if you are in a life and death situation, while that information can be very useful to you, if you're making very difficult decisions, it should not be your default in a society where you don't live in constant danger. Like we're not constantly running away from things that want to eat us, or people who are like wielding pangas and knives and want to kill us. Life is not like that every fucking minute, and thank goodness. So yes, I think that's a very good point. Why do we do that? It makes me feel bad about how little I have achieved. Well, this also came up yesterday. Again, talking to this friend of mine, and we were both saying, because he's been through like some serious ups and downs in business, and he said he wants to raise his daughter to be a happy girl, to have a happy life, to be well adjusted, all of that stuff. But he said there's this fine balance, because if her life is too soft, she's not going to be successful herself.
Oh yes,
right.
Yes.
So there's this very tough thing, and oh man, another reason that parents just deserve the most credit, even though some of them are terrible. You decide whether you're in the good or terrible category. I'm not going to get involved. I don't know your kids. I don't know you. But if you are a parent and you are too nice to your children and you give them everything and they have a soft life, they're going to grow up to be just boring, dull, entitled.
They're the worst.
Uninteresting people, right? And but you also don't want to raise them in a shitty way so that they end up being just these angry,
yes,
these bitter and resentful monsters, because that would also make people very miserable.
Yes,
somewhere in between.
A couple of years ago, the rapper T.I. had a reality show, and what he did was like kind of show us some of the things that he put his kids
a rapper
through. Yeah, a rapper.
Which
T.I.
rapper? Oh, T.I. Okay.
T.I. So what he would do is, because he grew up in the hood, but now he's super successful, he would like do these challenges with his kids to kind of simulate some of the challenges he went through. So he'd take them to a boxing class and they'd have to like figure it out and win a match, and then he'd be like, what was the lesson there? And the kid would tell him, and then he'd be like, so this is the lesson I learned when I was growing up. So in as much as he's not necessarily just like letting them just go back and live in the hood, he was still kind of teaching them the fundamentals of like the life lessons he learned so that they can be decent human.
Chris Rock also spoke about this in his comedy special, which everybody was raving about, where he was basically saying his kids do things like ride horses and archery and shit that he used to laugh at white kids when he was a child for doing. And now his kids are doing this stuff and learning to be a chef in France or whatever, his daughter, right? And he's like, this is such soft bullshit. And I don't want my kids to be soft bullshit people. So it's such a difficult thing to do. Anyway, Ben is here. There he is on the guest microphone. Hello, hey, guest microphone, Ben.
Yeah, I like this one.
Did you drool on your top?
No, I walk through your jungle right now. Right, okay. Either a bird shats on me or it's just rain.
Listen, I don't know what creatures live in these trees above where I park my car, but I have every week now I have to have this car cleaned, if not spray it down myself, because apparently this bird shit eats into the...
Especially hardy.cuck.
Because they eat, acid batteries and shit.
Homeless people. I mean, they do everything. Those things are horrid.
Have you ever seen a hardy-dar up close, and I mean like you look at its like skin and shit,
Oh, no.
because they are hideous, prehistoric dinosaur descendant birds. Those are not nice animals.
No, they're not. But we had that
Ugh,
hurricane.
and they're apparently full of ticks and lice and shit under their feathers
surprised.
as well.
They're
They're just gross. They're gross,
dreadful.
gross.
But there was that sort of flash storm where all that sleet and hail came down.
Yeah.
So all the trees that are in front of my apartment, they got desiccated. Like,
don't you love the way Ryan always slams the door?
He does, and he does patronizing, passive aggressive things like move my camera slightly.
He's like, can't you see you're in the middle of the camera?
Or it's like the microphone's here. It's like, there.
Yeah.
That's good. It's the same fucking place, right?
So you were saying during that storm?
Yeah. So these trees lost all their leaves, and then I saw a hardy-dar nest. Because I just thought hardy-dars come onto this earth fully grown and horrible. Because you never see a small one.
No.
But no, the little one was in this nest.
Ugh.
Learning how to go, caw, caw.
Learning how to irritate people. And
yeah. I actually saw a hardy-dar grow up during the spring.
Ugh.
Sure.
I mean, a part of me always wanted to shoot it, but...
I told you I have shot one before, and I probably will get into trouble for this.
Someone told me that it's frowned upon. Because,
you're not allowed to, apparently.
But
Why not?
They're not endangered, are they?
Oh, God. Endangered?
So
there are more of them than there are people.
Exactly.
Are you kidding? For every person in Johannesburg, there are 5 hardy-dars.
If they had the ambition, they could have a political party.
Oh, and they'd win every time. We were talking about like kids who have it too easy or kids who have it too hard. And there are a couple of comments here about this SIM card. Says, Carl, the average theory, who just quoted, the biggest lesson I've learned in life, I've changed the people I'm around most, and life changed. That's true. George Mienie says, live and well in the comment section, I think it's about cultivating a child's spirit, not giving them stuff. One can crush a child's spirit without the lack of money by shouting at them. Also, do you remember a single present that you got as a kid up to the age of 15? I don't.
Yeah,
I don't remember one present because
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, but I mean that stuff's so unimportant when once you've grown up. But when you're a kid, I think you think it's the most important thing.
A trip to France.
You got that as a present?
Well, I mean,
sure,
it wasn't like here's a present. It's like my parents took me on a trip to France when I was 12.
You just went with your dad and your brothers to Turkey. How was that?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. It's the weather's exactly the same as it is here. It's cold and it's raining every day. It was a bit shy.
But you don't look like you had a happy time. When I asked you, you immediately frowned and then smiled.
It wasn't so much a
what do you mean? You didn't enjoy being with your brothers and your dad?
No, that was cool. That was cool because we just don't do that. But Istanbul's, it's either like I found it was either great or it was quite disappointing. There wasn't really like a middle ground.
So you didn't love it. I mean, I loved it. And it couldn't have just been the weather.
It definitely wasn't. Look, it's great. I'd recommend anyone to kind of go there.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I think the biggest disappointment for me was just like, I think mosques, and it's a horrible thing to say because it's going to sound so ignorant, but I find mosques quite boring. It's just that
they are.
No, but the thing is, like,
they're meant to be.
They're meant to be.
It's meant to be about what you're doing in them. That's.
But like, you think, okay, well, the architecture, all that kind of stuff, but it just isn't like. And also, I don't like being told to take off my shoes in life.
Oh, you don't like? I don't like doing that in the check at the airport either.
Yeah,
I had to do it on what was it? The day I flew back from Monday.
So like, I was very excited to see the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia, and you go to those places, and then it's just like you get busted and take your shoes off, have a look around, and piss off. And it didn't feel like I actually got to embrace the culture or the heritage or the history of all these kind of things. And those guys are just trying to rip you off all the time, and I just find that tiring. I know this is human nature. This is all cities around the world. People are just trying to fuck you over for money. And I found that like that was like an aspect which I just didn't care for. But it's so cool in that you get to ride in trams, you get to ride in boats, you get to do all kinds of things in one place. And it's super pretty. And it's kind of like most other European cities you go to, just with like an Islamic sort of slant. It's cool. I mean, the shopping was interesting, but ultimately China ruined that as well. Like you go to the Grand Bazaar and it's like it's
all Chinese stuff.
It's all shitty Chinese knockoff
stuff.
Yeah,
they really have. Sucks. They've done us no favors. I mean, listen, I know that we would not be able to survive without those tiny children working in those sweatshops, making our phones and everything.
Which I appreciate.
I appreciate that.
I like them.
Yes, but But the fact that these cheap goods are now everywhere in the world, and that to get the real thing, I mean, listen, there are probably places. I mean, I did find a couple of places when I was in Istanbul, and I was there for maybe a bit longer, or I don't know. Anyway, fact is, I loved it, and I did find some authentic stuff. Most of that mass manufactured crap, which you could get at the China Mall down the road here.
Anywhere,
Right?
any
It's
China Mall.
It's just so,
But like
so depressing.
You're in the Grand Bazaar, okay? The Grand Bazaar. Even the name, it's grand. It's it's people.
And it is huge.
And there's some guy not trying to sell you a fake Fendi or buy these G-Star jeans, and like, no, dude, like just leave me alone. Like, what's Turkish around here?
If you like Hong Kong stuff, and I know a lot of people in South Africa love that stuff because it's all like, about signaling how you are cool or you're rich or whatever. So people will do anything they can to wear a brand.
Yeah.
And you can get that stuff in Turkey. I mean, if you're one of those people who loves Hong Kong stuff, or you want to impress idiots,
cool.
This place is just paradise, because you go there and you have all the fake, every kind of fake clothing brand you can imagine, cheap, and it looks like the real thing. You would never be able to tell. So if you're
sunglasses, watches,
if you're impressed by that stuff, Turkey's got to be on your list.
Yeah.
I'll give them credit for that.
That's great. But the biggest disappointment for me, and again, this is going to sound so ignorant, but I thought the shawarmas were cuck. And that disappointed me. Like it's a very low grade. I mean, we come from this place where we have good meat. And I particularly like to buy good meat. And you go there and it's like, it just tastes like cheap mutton. And I like the theater of it all. They're hoisted up onto the shawarma winch, and there's like an area, but it's cuck. And that thing backed me up for like 2 days. You get this.
Oh, really? Were you backed up for 2 days?
Shitty, like muttony meat, and then they roll it up in this indigestible piece of naan,
right,
basically.
So basically, not a great trip.
No, I thought the food was quite average. We went to this one restaurant, though. It was very expensive, but the food was amazing. And these guys were just kind of brying.
You're just going to pay more and you get the
but this is the thing. And then I also find, like, as you get older, you should be like, I am a grouchy old fuck, though.
Yeah,
I'm
totally
I'm so used to just eating well and doing certain things. And, like, it's just... Like I just really like this place. Yeah, I love traveling.
You know what you like? You like South Africa, and you like the things that you like in South Africa.
If I went on this trip 10 years ago, it would have been the best trip ever. Because I was less of a grouchy fuck, and I was so absolutely determined in how I live my life. But
it's the honesty for me.
But I did enjoy the hammam experience. It was very different.
You did that good.
Yeah, but it wasn't what I expected. Right. It was basically just going to a nice spa where they just make you wet. So it's like beautiful inside this hammam. So where we were staying, like my dad found this Airbnb, which is beautifully placed, and it was this 3-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
And we could see the Glatter Tower in the distance. There was this really great restaurant at the base. And then literally 140 meters away, past 7 cats, there was this hammam.
A lot of cats,
which makes the city amazing. Every city should have cats. It's the best thing. Again,
and everybody feeds them.
And they're in good nick.
Everybody feeds them. They're not like horrible cats who go, yeah. They're nice cats.
Well, every road seems to have the responsibility of giving the cats food.
Right.
They're nice cats. And it gives so much charm to the city. So I walked past the stray cats with my brother and went to this hammam, and it was raining. And you go in there and it is beautiful. Like so marble, and it's just...
And they've got old brass taps, Simphiwe, that you open up.
Yeah, and then
you wear a towel, and then...
Well, you get the single-use boxer shorts that you get at all spas, and then you go sit down. And unfortunately, there wasn't a burly, Azamat-looking man hitting me with things. It was like this sort of shy Russian girl.
Oh,
okay.
And you sit down in this room, and they douse you with hot water, and you just chill. And then they take you into the actual marble slab. It's all like nice. Like it's just basically being like someone's rich house where they just don't care about Escom and have underfloor heating. And that's what it kind of was. And then there's like this sack which they put air in, and then they just put this foam on you, and then you get a bit of a massage and a scrub down and a hair wash.
So you had this Russian woman do it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We didn't even have the option of a Russian woman. I just got a burly Azamat man who
that's what I
slapped
wanted.
me around on the marble.
But
it's very weird.
But the place we went to was so fancy. Like you have to pay. They quote in euros, and there wasn't the option of being hit with those trees and the leaves.
Okay, no, this sounds quite okay. It sounds good. That's
not what Ben wanted.
I wanted a rougher experience, guys.
Okay, all right. Well,
I wanted it to be slightly dark, not like beautifully lit with
Ben,
those speakers on the wall.
If Ben of 5 years ago went, he would have loved
it. He would have loved it. He wouldn't have been so like. Ugh. but like, it was I just love traveling. Traveling's cool, and even the flight home, because now I was by myself because I'm with other people, and I don't.
Oh, did the rest of them stay on?
Yeah, so they stayed on. They're in like the south of Turkey right now, in the
Sure.
most incredible place. Yeah, they're a little more fancy than I am. But it was quite cool getting onto the plane by myself at the end, having some time alone.
Yeah.
Going through the airport, being on the plane, watching movies.
Nice.
Like, that's cool. I still love that, even though
Yeah, if I could shorten the trip back home to like half an hour and just come through customs here, I'd be the happiest guy, because that trip back for me is always too long. I'm always in a hurry to get home. Don't enjoy it. Trip there, I love.
It's so cool going to the airport.
Mm.
And like our airport's lost a bit of charm since,
It really has. Hey, listen, AXA, if anybody from AXA is paying attention this morning, you guys are going to up your game. They're like tiles falling off the wall. No, it looks like shit. Really, our Tambo is embarrassing.
Yeah,
that's really embarrassing. It's not a good quality
think about
airport.
it, okay? It was made in 2010, and if it wasn't made in 2010, it would look like dog shit now. So it's going to look like dog shit in about 3-4 years, because they're not going to.
It already does. I've noticed cracked tiles all over the place. They don't clean it properly. The lift buttons are all buggered. It's just it's not good. And this is supposedly the first thing people see when they come to visit South Africa. You have to have a good airport.
Yes, you do.
And especially, you went to that big Istanbul airport, right?
That's the best airport I've ever been to.
It is the biggest, best, shiniest,
so big,
most excellent airport I have ever seen. As much as Ben has endorsed it, I will, and some. And then you get here and you're like,
But it almost felt like driving in a Bentley to suddenly being in an Uber X.
Right.
That's what and our airport's not terrible. It's not horrific. As African standards go, it's actually pretty solid. But that airport in Istanbul.
But that's the thing. We can't be like, it's not that bad. But you're competing globally, especially if that's the airport that a lot of international tourists land. So it needs to be just as good as all the other international airports.
Listen, they're going to have to go through the East Rand anyway. So they're going to not be impressed. But you may as well make the airport nice.
Yeah, I mean... You see the good side, okay? You see the good side.
Simphiwe is going to defend the East Rand. All right. We're apparently getting new money. Have you heard about this?
Yes.
Yeah. I always think, like, how does this work? I'm very curious about new money, because I know when Biden presses the button, it'll go to Ukraine and then it comes back to US. I mean, I know that they've got their system.
That's right.
But our system seems to be like we need to replenish and rejuvenate. And now
I think part of the reason that they keep changing our money is because there's so many crooks printing fake money.
But do they keep changing our money?
Well, they are now.
This is like the only thing
look
I've
at the
heard.
screen. Take a look here. These are the new notes that are coming.
Yeah.
Who's specimen?
They put that on there so that you couldn't like print on your home printer a bunch of these. But believe me, there are people who have already figured out. And I bet you there are already illegal printing presses making fake money.
No, Gareth, it doesn't need to be, because the government just prints more for themselves.
Well, they made the fake printing presses as well.
Yeah.
So they, instead of ordering 6 of them to go at the South African Mint, they order 5 and keep one at Lutulia.
Keep one on the side, just keep pumping up. But these notes are cool. I like the new look on the elephants and the animals.
Yeah, the animals are still the same. So we've still got the buffalo for the 100, still got the leopard for the 200, and the rhino for the 10. And the notes get progressively bigger because, of course, blind people wouldn't know how much they were spending then. You could rip them off
and the
so
thing
bad.
Is, and the blind are very cash conscious.
Very.
Yeah, they're known to use cash. Don't care about e-bucks to the blind. But, like they could have jazzed up Madiba a little bit, Like I know that it's the iconic face, but like they could have had him, maybe younger years. There's that cool boxing photo of him. Maybe they could have had a picture of him.
But we're not fighting, though. It's money.
Everyone fights for money. I reckon that they could have gone to town a bit, because people like collectibles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if there was like a special 50 out there when Madiba was coming out of that pile house he had, they could have really jazzed it up, I think.
Well, what they've done with the animals is cute, because as Karine says, they've put all the babies with all the. So it used to be just the a rhino. Now they've got the rhino and the baby rhino and baby elephant and the baby lion and baby leopard.
That symbolizes legacy. I like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a very nice thing. And then the coins. Who still uses coins? But they've brought out a new 5 rand with a whale on it.
Oh, that
And
looks, that looks nice.
That's very
two rond, which I think has a springbok on it.
Uh,
I don't know if they still even make 50 cents, 20 cents, and 10 cents. So Ryan told me something really interesting earlier. If you go to Woolworths, what do you think the cheapest thing is you could buy at Woolworths?
R7.99.
Correct. What is it?
I don't know. I just guessed.
The bag. The bag that you get your 7 rond for a bag.
Oh,
Not
wow.
$7.99, 7 rand.
Oh, okay.
That is the cheapest thing in the store. So if you have a 5 rand and a 1 rand, you can't buy anything at Woolworths. There's nothing for sale that is less than that 7 rand bag.
Yeah, but if you're buying something for 15 or 16 rand, then you need that 5 to go on your 10.
Ben, the
But
point
you can't
point
walk
is
in. You
the
can't
point
even
is
walk in.
out of all these coins, there is not one of them
Yeah.
that would buy you anything, not even the bag to
Well,
put nothing in at Woolworths.
No shit,
Nothing.
Gareth. I can't walk into Bentley with my credit card and buy anything either. I mean,
This is
it's
not
all relative.
This is not Bentley. First of all, I'm horrified because I haven't ever asked what the bags. I don't usually shop at Woolworths anyway.
Have
'cause
you
I think
seen how many people
bullshit.
have? Like, they have so many bags. I know I have like 50,000 of them, but like,
you should sell them. I mean, if they're 7 rand each, I could make a fortune just selling
what's the
old Woolworths
resale?
bags.
that's because like, you get there and you're like, oh, I forgot a bag. Yeah, let's get another bag.
You're
You
like,
just,
how much could it cost? Because you're thinking in your head, it's the old plastic ones.
In
with
this,
20
in this
cents.
economy, how are you so cavalier with your money?
I
Oh, I'm
know.
just going to
No,
forget my
it's-
bag.
Listen, guys, we got serious problems. So they have changed the money, and I'm sure everybody's super excited about this.
Okay, but I do have a serious question. And I know that means I'm not in touch with how most of the country works, but who uses coins? Like,
I don't know.
A
I don't
lot
even
of
have a
people.
place
I
for
w-
coins in my.
I would
in my
say,
wallet.
okay,
what is it? How much does it cost to make 10 cents?
I don't know about the 10
See, 'cause,
cents.
I mean, that's the reason I'm asking. It's like a supply demand thing, right?
So I don't know about like the brown coins, right?
No one knows about those.
the brown coins have always had it rough. Huh? Remember there was a 1 and a 2 cent when I was growing up.
There was.
Ooh.
You remember 2 cent?
Mm.
Simphiwe doesn't even know what
It
that is.
had a what was it? There was an animal in there as well. It was
Oh,
a
my
canoe or
word.
something.
What could you buy
Crab
with
or
that?
something that feeds in the bottom of the ocean. There was
There's things you guys could get for like what, 5 cents?
There was a half cent like in the 80s, wasn't there? 70s.
No, I never remember a half cent. I mean, my parents probably had a half
Our
cent.
parents would have had a half cent in their wallet.
But the 1 cent coin, I'm sure I can still find one somewhere in an old box in my house or something. A 1 cent
coin.
1 cent used to have 2 little sparrows on it or something. I promise
it was 2 little sparrows.
It was this big.
It was 2
Yeah, it
little
was a
sparrows, and it was smaller than the 10 cent.
Right. Now, Slippery Pickle says, I thought we'd have a 20 rand coin by now. Well, the way that the rand is devaluing, it's probably not long before that. In the UK, says Congo Chris, you have to insert a pound coin to release the shopping trolley from the trolley bay. And you get your coin back when you return your trolley. We should do that with a 5 rand.
Oh,
coin.
wow. No,
I
you're
don't
going to
know.
be ruining people's businesses. Don't you know people steal trolleys? Like, they steal them.
What else are homeless people
now-
going to push their shit around in?
Well, now they can buy them for 5 rand.
No, that's too much. What do you mean? When they
gotta-
can get it for free.
Do you take 510 cents or 50 cents?
Well, again, Ryan was saying this morning with the price of things and talking about the new money. He said he told his parents 10 years ago, why are you collecting these brown coins? Because the bank won't take them.
Yes, that's true. So my gran also has a jar
Of-
of like all the brown coins ever. And she's just like, no, this is money. And I was like, no, this
It's
is not money.
No
It's
one
not.
no one wants it.
It's matter. That's all it is. It's just a piece of.
It's copper and
If it's
tin.
copper,
If I checked that jar, I'm sure I'd see the 1 cent. I probably would.
hang on a second.
I reckon you get more money melting it down and selling it to a scrap metal dealer
Yes,
than you would
because
from the bank.
Copper gets stolen at an
Mm.
alarming rate in
Yeah.
this country. If any of those coins have copper, that's like the brown coins should all come together and get melted.
I think so. We should just, because here they are, they're still making them. I mean, you saw that picture, right?
Mhm.
So they're still making brown coins,
Well-
50 cent, 20 cent, and the 10 looks very brown.
Well, see, the thing is, they're not brown coins technically. The brown coins were the 1, the 2, and the 5.
Yeah,
Like I
Yeah.
have so many 5 cents. I use it on a table as like a cover of a table.
right.
Ooh.
That's actually a cool thing to do with
We
it.
can
So if
actually
you-
take all the brown coins, put them on the floor here, and make a brown coin floor.
that could be fun. Didn't they do that at one of the bars in Joburg?
There was a place in Braamfontein. I think
Yeah.
it was Great Dane.
Great Dane. They used to have.
I think brown coin. This
Coins on the
weekend.
floor.
Let's have arts and crafts. What do you do
Let's
with
do
your brown
that.
coins?
Everybody get together with their little coins and their what do they call that stuff? Enamel, and we can make a brown coin floor.
Yeah.
How exciting!
Because
Maybe we should decorate this place with brown coins.
there's nothing else you can do with them.
No, there's nothing. I mean, if you did sell them to a scrap metal dealer, they would laugh at you because the crooks are stealing far more copper than you.
And yeah,
It's not worth their time. They'd be like, ugh, what do I want with all these coins?
It's so shit how the crooks make our life so trivial.
Well, let's not get depressed about it, Ben. I mean, we are talking about brown coins that we have. It would be much worse if we didn't even have them.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. We are so privileged. We are looking to make arts and crafts out of money.
Yeah.
And it's not going to get stolen.
But I wonder,
It's
because
worthless.
there are always going to be those people who don't know that there's new money circulating, and they're going to see like the new notes, and they're going to go, what's this shit? Because, like some people are not paying attention. They just don't ever pay attention. And then you'll pay them with cash, which hardly anyone does anymore. I mean, I don't really use cash much anymore. It's a liability. It's a danger to have cash on you.
It's nice though. I actually love using cash in Turkey.
Yeah, but they've got a real currency, not like us.
Well, it's kind of
about the same as us.
Yeah, but it's the act. It's a country, a nation of people who are hustling and trading. So money is still a big deal. And it is important to still use money.
Collection of those coins is not about the value of the coin, but rather the discipline of saving, says Joking Atheist. Yeah, but what's the point? Ryan says you could pay your TV license with a 5-cent coin. Now, that would be funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
Put it in bags, big bank bags.
Didn't a company do this once? I think it might have been Samsung or Apple. Because, like they always had these sort of patent disputes because Samsung was always trying to copy Apple.
Yeah. And they went delivered.
And then eventually there was a court case and there was a settlement to happen. And then they literally took like dump trucks full of essentially their brown coins and said, here you go, here's your money. And a bag of dicks.
Because it is still legal tender.
It is legal tender.
But if you paid someone in 5-cent coins, you could really piss them off.
Yeah, friendship is over. I don't know who the hell you are. Let's play shop.
Like you drop a knockoff fake Fendi bag from the Grand Bazaar and it's full of brown coins.
Carl says this is where we need Gord with the Rond Cent Man song. Decimal Dan, the Rond Cent Man, brings what the cents and ronds whenever he can.
Gord's listening to this right now,
He's
sweating at the ability that
it.
he should be delivering this line himself.
No, he loves that. He loves it more than anything. I only swipe my card, says Kareen. It's safer. Hand, purple, blue, peace. What?
Those are emojis. The safer hand, purple, blue piece.
Oh. Sorry. Okay.
How do you know there's emojis?
She can read that language.
It's got Matrix.
It's got like colons
differently.
It is amazing that you could interpret that.
Yeah, because literally her sentence made sense until it got to safer hand, purple, blue piece. So there's a piece is an emoji. So
Simphiwe is right. She worked that out. She's smarter than we are. Her brain is better acclimatized to an emoji world than you and I are, Ben. Sorry.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted.
But also look at how it's written.
No, look, you don't have to try to justify your brilliance. Just own it.
Wild.
I mean, that's fantastic.
That is, yeah. You read that. You understood that like instantly. To me, it was a different language. I thought this Kareen is on drugs. This woman's fucking high. The way she's paying attention. She just sent us a message. Most of it was garbled nonsense. Meanwhile, Simphiwe is like decoding the stuff like the Matrix. Oh, man. When is Ben bringing Drickusworth? This is Ricky, who always asks about.
Yeah, Ricky, fuck, I don't know. I've kind of lost contact. Well, no, we still chat about trivial shit, but like every time I ask him about something,
he's busy.
He's a busy guy, and
you're not his priority. Let's put it that way. He does not wake up in the morning going, I wonder if Ben is free today.
Correct. I will definitely go with that. But yeah, he's fighting that July 8th card. Cameron Simon's going to be on that card as well now, which is great. Maybe I'll just bring Cam in here. He's more reliable.
Okay. What do you think of the New Zealand Prime Minister, Ben? His name is Cross Hopkins.
As someone said a long time ago, it's like John Smith had sex with Sean Pollock's mother.
We have to look at ways of making fun of other leaders because ours is so cuck. But it is a fun. It is a good party trick. It's like
Oh, yeah.
comparing the world's worst, because there's a ton of worst leaders in the world right now.
Oh, yes.
There isn't actually a good. I can't think of a good one. Exactly.
Oh,
There isn't
No,
one.
I'm not even staying quiet for effect. I just really have no idea.
No, there isn't one. Carry cash, says Sanela. I hardly carry cards even. If I shop, if your shop doesn't tap, then it's not good enough for me to buy from. Apple Pay hypnotized me. I do the same thing.
Oh,
I don't carry a wallet around much anymore.
Yeah, that thing is scary because I have not seen my bank card in a couple of months, and
But you've seen your bank balance.
You guys are the problem.
Yeah.
You guys are the problem. This is how China takes over, because you become part of your watch, and then suddenly they're just guiding you to the next meal and
So-
guiding you to the next thing.
I learned about like this feature, or I don't know if it's a feature, like with the iPhone 14,
Yeah.
right? So if you own the iPhone 14 and you're the owner, it all lights up, and then you can
I
like.
love it if you got an iPhone 14, you're now called an owner because that thing's so damn expensive.
No, your phone is the thing that owns you.
Oh,
Right, and you put it on the table, it will like switch off, right? If you Ben walk past, the phone won't light up, but when the owner walks past, the phone
I
lights
don't
up.
know if I like that. How does it know?
Good question.
How does it know? I don't like this.
because you've sacrificed your entire soul towards the stuff. Carry cash, be a prick, and just have a normal phone. iPhone 14,
Well, what's your phone?
iPhone 11.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
look at you!
Big
You're not
deal.
that far off.
I have
Big
limits.
deal. iPhone 11. Look at him being superior about his
I am
iPhone 11.
absolutely smug. There's a ceiling to how far you should go.
Simphiwe was talking about how she loved that Sony Walkman phone.
Oh yes.
And then I mentioned that I had that Nokia silvery one that I was so proud of.
But
And we've forgotten how good these things were. And like
it was the small things that made us
we-
happy.
Yeah, but
you
also,
could
like,
insert a
spent
memory
just so
card.
much time and money on those things.
but they were iconic because
Mm.
every phone that came out, they were actually different. These
Yeah.
phones just come out, they look the same.
All the same.
It's
I
just
can't tell if someone's got a cover on their phone, whether it's a Samsung or an iPhone or anything else. They all look the same,
it's all black mirrors.
which is another thing.
It's the show.
I mean, that show, we started talking about that show when it came out. And we were frightened to death. And everything that they've talked about on that show
Has come to life.
has either come to life or is in the
Yeah.
process of happening.
I would like to watch it again because I watched it when it came out and it was still science fiction. And you could tell, like, yeah, this is a little bit too close. And all those episodes, actually, someone wrote an article about it. Every episode of Black Mirror is depressing except for one. Except for one when those lesbians end up hooking up at the end.
Yes,
in
yeah, I
Cape
remember
Town.
that one.
Yeah, that was the only happy episode. Otherwise,
Yeah.
everything's
It's miserable.
I don't want to depress myself, but I actually want to watch that series again. And I bet no one has cash because they were taking that freedom away from you.
Hey, I bet you that, yeah.
Have your money,
I
feel
used
your
this
money.
thing. I even used this to pay for parking yesterday. You go to the parking thing,
You're,
click, and it goes ding.
yeah, that's it. You've
It's got those little.
Yeah, you gone, Gareth.
gone,
I'm
Gareth.
gone, right? I'm
Yeah,
down
you
the
gone.
tube.
You gone.
Oh,
I'm still
God.
fighting for like the small things. So like toll gates, I'd pay cash, and parking cash. Those are the only two
But
things.
where do you get cash? Because
No,
they keep
go-
blowing up the ATM.
Oh yes. Guys.
moved
Like-
a better
Wait, she's
area.
got a horror story.
Yes.
This is how you get South Africans talking at a braai. You go, blowing up ATMs, and one of them goes, oh, have I got a story for you?
Drama bingo.
So there's a garage not too far from. There's quite a few, but there's a Cecil garage not too far from us, right?
Yeah.
And they used to have, if I'm not mistaken, a Standard Bank ATM, and that was like the only one like within a 10K radius. And like I think like a month ago, I went to be like, oh, I need Standard Bank, let me use it, and they're like, oh no, the ATM was blown up. And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, it's like it happens all the time. So now they've stopped even like.
They don't even fix it now.
Yeah, they're like, we're not even going
The-
to
the
put
door,
back the ATM.
the door with the extruded metal, and like it looks like the
But it
Hulk
gets
broke out of it.
worse.
So they just leave it there now.
It gets worse because then after a few weeks after that explosion, the actual garage gets robbed, and they were like shut down for like 2 weeks because they were out of business. And I was like, you guys just need to. There's something going on here, and this property is not. That's not it.
Yeah,
Don't do
that's Ramaphosa youth right there. So Simphiwe, I see you sitting there with your bottle of Prime, just having a Friday, basically.
Well, it's empty. This is.
Did you? But so I'm amazed Checkers is selling that stuff so cheap. It's like $40. What do you
What do
pay
you
for
mean
that?
wait, what do you mean it's so cheap?
What did you pay for that?
No, like no, $40 is a lot of money.
Yeah,
This is not cheap.
But people were selling it for like 500, 600
Yeah,
bucks.
they got ripped off. It's called a scam.
No, of course they got ripped off. The entire thing is a scam. Prime is the best marketing campaign since COVID.
I feel like I'm in an episode of Black Mirror.
I agree with you, but I needed to know what the hype was all about.
I would put Prime and
Totally.
the vaccine into the same category.
No,
It's
absolutely.
like everybody was forced to buy it because of peer pressure, but actually it does no good.
Forced to buy it and then share about it. That's the thing. Everyone that's bought a Prime this week has shared it, which is great for
Yes.
checkers. I mean, genius.
Do you know what will be a fun exercise to do is to go through your contacts on, it's going to be boring, a lot of it, but you go through your contacts on Facebook and you actually find those people who posted pictures of themselves getting the vaccine and you repost them and say, look at this fucking idiot.
Look at this
and
fucking
embarrass them
idiot.
with their own material. Wouldn't that be fun?
That's pretty funny.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because can you remember those people? Those
Yeah,
people
they
who
were very like
excited to be getting the jab.
Like literally saving humanity
Yeah,
one
yeah.
stupid
I've
selfie
never
at a
been
time.
so proud of myself for
They
being a rebel.
What were they saying? Things like stay safe, stay home.
Be a part of the solution, not the problem.
No,
Like,
dude.
fucking people.
And there were a lot
boy.
of them. I want to know who those. I want
And they-
those people to be responsible for their own dumbness at the time.
No, I mean, look, that they've already gone to that mindset where they've got a big enough group of them that they feel safe in their stupidity.
Mhm.
But just touching back on Prime before we wrap up the hour.
Because Prime is going to be the same in about 3 to 4 years' time. People are going to be posting like idiots with Prime and going, "What the hell's wrong with these people?"
No, like none of this surprises me because this is how we are, right? You mean your phone tells you what to do next, and you pay for parking through your phone. It's like,
Yeah.
guys, this is the next trend. You must go stand in a queue to a fucking supermarket so you can go buy a fancy, hyped up Powerade, and that's kind of it. But this is where we are in life, right?
No, but let's give some credit where it is due, right? The reason why it was so hyped up, right? The reason why is because it's YouTubers that have basically created or are the face of this brand,
Yeah.
right? Logan Paul and KSI. And it's like for the first time in a really long time, we're seeing a rollout of like what YouTube can do in your career. Like KSI is like now a boxer.
Are you reading the press release?
No, man, I know these guys. Stop it, man. Right? It's like he's now like he started off as a YouTuber gamer, and now he's like gone into professional boxing or amateur boxing. Logan Paul, he was just like a douchebag on some I'm vegan, trying to be healthy. Now he has his own podcast, and they're doing great things. They've partnered up, and now they have this, and
Yes.
everyone's talking about it. And the rollout is like, oh my gosh.
Congrats. And I'm all behind it. I know how this world works. I work in this, unfortunately, and I get it. I just think where I was going with that is like, it's just the next thing that we are now forced into being in. You have to be a part of that.
Yes.
I'm so glad again.
Like
going
I'm
back
part of history.
you're part of history. Simphiwe,
Yes.
you actually are.
Yeah.
I'm maybe going to fight you in that statement.
Boss BGP says that the green one, which is the one Simphiwe's got, and the Sunlight dishwashing liquid are the same price. They also taste the same.
How would you know how sunlight?
Oh, come on. You
Everyone's
never,
had a bit of sunlight.
everyone's had some of that.
But I just think like it's weird how checkers went kind of cheap, $40. But like there's obviously caffeine in there, right? It's an actual energy drink. I haven't had one yet.
Yeah, all I know there's coconut water. There's
Oh.
like 250 mg
Great.
BCAS, very high in B vitamins. You know,
Soon, do you think people will be blowing up stores to get the price?
No, I think because checkers has put it. If checkers went with $100, they probably would have sold just as many, but they would have had Crom.
Crom.
They would have had Crom, but because it's $40, they're not going to have the. So actually, maybe it's the right price point. Maybe
that's perfect. You know,
All right, very good. Listen, it's 7 o'clock. We're going to take a break. We'll come back in just a minute or two. Stick around, cliffcentral.com. Friday morning. Hooray.
Hi, I'm Barrett Edelstein. Join me for my podcast, Celeb Savant. Today I'm with Sophie Ellis-Bextor.
So right at the moment, I'm at home in London. But after I speak to you, I'm going to pack my bags.
3 of the members of UB40, Earl, Matt, and Jimmy.
Well, we're in the middle of a tour at the moment.
A career retrospective with actors, singers, and entertainment industry experts every Friday morning at 9 o'clock on cliffcentral.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
It's the decade that just won't go away, mainly because we won't let it. It's That 80s Show, the show that taste forgot. Every Friday, Paolo and Dory remember the 80s. Movies, music, fashion, Wham, Beachies, and the Half. If it was acceptable in the 80s, it will get you cancelled today. That 80s Show, new episode every Friday, live or as a podcast on cliffcentral.com.
Up next in the AutoTrader podcast.
So we're talking about the art of counterfeiting.
Is a replica a fake? And
I have a theory to that actually, as to what makes it fake. So I think if you're stealing intellectual property,
yes,
then it becomes
fake.
A fake.
Yes.
Whereas if you imitating with your own name and your own
your own brand, you're not trying to call a Lamborghini Hurricane a Lamborghini Hurricane.
Exactly. Yeah, you calling it
something else.
A Shamborghini.
A Shamborghini.
A tsunami or something. I don't know.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
And I've got good news for you. You don't have to wait until Monday. You can catch Borge a little bit later on this show. Ben has to head out in a couple of minutes, but we've got a really interesting guest popping in. He's dressed in like a Hawaiian shirt and shorts.
Oh, was that guy the guest?
Yeah, he's coming in just now. And he said...
I thought he was just lost.
Because I said to him, Jesus, is this what you dress like on a Friday? And he said, you dress for the weather you want, not the weather you've got. Which I thought was... That's very optimistic.
He's English. He's English, right?
He's English, yeah.
Okay, well, that would explain everything.
I'll explain all of it just now. All right, we were talking about these energy drinks, and I don't want to go on about this too long because it does feel like we're doing marketing for people. But I think that the energy drink business is a phenomenal hoodwink, and I don't know that it's good for us. And I do think somewhere in the future we're going to discover that these things have totally fucked up our immune systems or our kidneys or our something, because it can't be. Listen, we know what caffeine does to ordinary caffeine in coffee and tea and things like that, right? These things are like super concentrates. And I know people go to the garage, they buy one of these when they're having a slow day.
But also the sizes of it, it's not like just a can of coke. It's like
a half a liter,
600 ml can or something.
Yeah.
Like it's not even I think it's 600. But like on the ingredients, like you were stuttering through whatever the fuck's in there. Basically, it's sugar and dreams. And
crushed dreams.
Yeah, sugar and like, but like something for like Monster or those energy drinks, they didn't have to actually disclose what's in there completely.
You're joking. They don't have to say what's on there.
So no, they can go. I don't know what the number is. I'm going to mess this up, but they only have to get a certain amount of ingredients in there and disclose them. But they can sneak a few other things in there, and by law, it's fine. Listen, they don't have to be completely transparent.
These chemicals that have taken the place of caffeine in the disclosure, and that's the part we do know about. Carnitine, taurine. These do not sound like
they sound like
healthy.
Waiting to happen.
Well, I don't know.
Taurine's actually it's good for hydration, apparently. Like
well,
I bought cat treats the other day, and they were heavy in taurine. And my cats weren't looking to go on a jaw afterwards. So they're pretty happy.
Oh, so they weren't going...
No, they weren't suddenly chopping off their jaws and making shapes with their paws.
I associate a lot of these energy drinks with those guys who are like the gym butts, who take like a spoon full of dry pre-workout powder.
Oh, creatine, that's the new chain now.
Workout powder. And they put it in their mouth and they chew this dust. And then their faces itch and their bodies go red, and they're like, I'm so pumped now for my training this afternoon.
And I get it,
my gym sesh,
because you are making yourself a little bit more turbo for a certain purpose, but all that shit crashes down.
It can't be good.
It's like you said, like, I've got friends who have a low day and they go buy a Monster. Well, you're just a dickhead. All you're doing is giving yourself a momentary spike of bullshit, but you're going to be worse off. Like, I know I talk about these kind of things a lot, and some people think that I'm chasing health fads, but it's this natural high thing that is sustainable. It gives you the best results.
Yeah,
it's just harder work
than
having a Prime or a Monster.
Right.
But it's never going to be good for you to have something so synthetic in your body. It's as simple as that. Like, it's just not good. That stuff is made in bulk with...
Well, Vyasan says it's made from diabetes pea.
Yeah. Well, there it is. That's the actual part of the ingredients.
Have you ever noticed though when you take a whole lot of vitamins or you drink a lot of energy drinks or whatever, your pee actually does change.
Mm.
Like it almost becomes luminous. It can't be good.
It's not good.
It's not good, right? I mean,
No, it really
you don't
isn't.
have to be a rocket scientist to
don't
figure
think
that
so.
this stuff's probably making your body
The minute
worse, not
your
better.
pee is changing or poo is changing, just know there's something going in the system. Just know.
Yeah, people talking about cocoa leaf extract and taurine, and someone else said here, Red Square has taurine and ginseng in it. I mean, everybody's looking for a quick fix. Everybody's looking for some magic potion that's going to make them feel great and look great and just energy all day. And
just like there's no president, just like there's no tooth fairy, there's no quick fix with this shit.
Right.
Okay.
We've
got to actually be adults at some stage in this whole journey that we're on.
Right.
And ginseng sounds great. It's like ylang-ylang. Or just do normal things.
Or do hardcore drugs and just you'll die younger.
Yeah,
that's all. But just, if you're chasing those, if you need something to get you through the day, and you're taking like 4 of those 600 ml cans of something that is luminous, glows in the dark, maybe you should rather just develop a coke habit and just die younger. I mean, you'll run out of money faster, and it'll probably be better for you in the long run.
Exactly. Just be honest about it.
No,
that prime bottle is now staring at me like it wants to fight me.
It's very bright. Anyway, George says it's hard to do, but eat and drink only things that you can see came out of the ground or was once an animal.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
There's a thing about like you should eat things that don't have an ingredients list. So chicken, eggs, I don't know, but things that don't have ingredients in them.
Boring, right? But that is the best way to do it.
Yeah,
It simply is the best way to do it.
I go to the shops now. I'm really only interested in the fresh produce section. Really, I don't have other. The rest of the shop is like processed stuff, and I know that's not good for you. I mean, the whole of winter now, I'm pretty much going to be drinking soup.
Oh yes,
that's my whole eating soup.
That's like my favorite time.
That's all I'm doing.
See, I'm
going to come out of this. I'm going to look like I've been to the world's poorest country and I've been eating lentils.
No, you'll be great. Your skin will be better.
Yeah,
your
I
energy
think I
levels
will.
are better. You'll have better cognitive abilities.
Yeah.
I'm all for that, and tropical Haribos.
Komotso just wants to say, Ben, that you just crushed my daughter by saying the tooth fairies are not real. She heard that.
Oh, sorry.
Well, better she learns young, because she might grow up thinking politicians can solve her problems.
Exactly.
That would be a much worse thing too.
I'm not crushing your daughter. I'm empowering your daughter. There's a big difference.
Yeah. And plus, this is not a children's show, in case you haven't noticed. I mean, yesterday, Pumi was, by the way, so foul-mouthed.
Nice.
You have no idea. She was foul-mouthed from the beginning of the show to the end.
What was catching her?
I don't know. She was just in a mood where she felt like dropping the F-bomb every 5 minutes. And I thought, well, that's why we're a free channel and you can do what you want.
Were you chatting to someone from the DA?
No. No, not even. Ben's gone along with all the propaganda around this. All right. Well, what are you doing this weekend? Anything fun?
So
before you go,
my golf school is at golf at Royal Johannesburg here, and we used to have a big golf school. We used to have like four
what
balls
is a
in the
golf
weekend.
school?
Well, you're a member of a club. You play with certain people. You create your own golf school.
Wow, so elite.
Absolutely. Take that, Prime.
All right.
And then so many guys have now semi-migrated. There's enough of them to have a Cape Town versus Joburg, like Ryder Cup style weekend. So the guys are flowing up from Cape Town. And in the shitty weather, although it's getting a bit better, we are going to play 2 fierce days of competition. And they're going to do drinking. I'm not
Have
going
you
to.
ever seen anyone being struck by lightning on a golf course?
No, I've heard about it 3 times.
It happens quite a lot,
times.
right? No, it happens all the time.
Yeah, it happens. And sometimes you think, like, as long as it's old people, it's okay. Because you don't want to see a young person get struck by lightning.
And old people roast a bit better.
No, but you think about it. If you're an old guy playing golf, there's a good chance you're escaping your wife. You just want to die doing what you love. And it's not always the worst story. Yes, no one likes to see death. But when an old guy gets struck down on a golf course, what better way to go? What better way to go? Sitting there doing what he loves. He was already 7 over par after 3 holes. The rest of the round didn't matter anyway. But bang. Yeah, all happens here in Joburg. So I'm doing that. And then my best friend's up from Cape Town. He also sent me greatest. So I'm playing golf. I'm playing golf Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That sounds amazing.
Still
Ken.
thinking about the old guy being hit by lightning. Well, I've got my old friend is coming from America. I'm seeing him on Saturday, which will be fun. He's the cleverest person I've ever met in my life.
Nice.
But he's also very funny. And he's
Tremendous
got 2 kids and a wife and lives in Dallas.
Ooh.
And he's out here to visit his mom. And we're going to have a bit of a drinking session on Saturday night and laugh a lot.
Those are great.
Yeah, that's
Those are wonderful
exactly what
things.
I'm all up for that. Should be
Nice.
lots of fun. So yeah, but as usual, I have a strict one night stay at my house rule, even if you come from America. So he's here for like I think 3 or 4 days, but he's only spending one night at my house, which is
Well, yeah,
exactly
you must go see his mom. That's why he's
yeah,
here.
exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah, that's what I said. Meanwhile, I was like, "There's a strict one night ever policy."
Well, you can't stay longer than one night because at some stage you need to take a cuck, and you can't do that at your house.
No,
either.
you're not allowed to. Yeah,
So-
right. So you have to leave. You
That's why you
can't strictly no shitting at my house. So I've thought about this. It's a foolproof plan. And for all those people who end up with someone who's moved in temporarily and you feel sorry for them or you haven't got the balls to say, get out, that's your problem. I don't have that problem.
Exactly.
All right. Cheers, Ben.
All right, guys.
We'll
Have a
see you
good
later.
weekend. Ciao.
There goes Ben Karpinski. He'll join us again in a week's time. It is Friday morning. We got a lot of things to get to, a lot of things to talk about, lots of fun to be had. Simphiwe is here with me. We've got some interesting stuff that we didn't get to yet that I've been waiting to hear about. Apparently, the worst thing that you've texted accidentally because your spell check fixed it for you is something that is bothering Simphiwe. Well, there's this great story that we had on the show years ago when Leanne texted someone about her aunt being sick, but the spell check changed aunt to cunt.
Oh.
And so she sent this text which said, hey, this is to her boss. I'm sorry, I'm not going to make it in today because my cunt is sick.
Oh my gosh.
Because she used that word so many times that the spell check started putting it in more than aunt, right?
Oh my god.
So that was an actual situation that happened. I don't think it gets much worse than that. Why? Have you had a problem recently?
Not me. But
Oh, I
like
thought it was you.
a friend of mine was telling me that like he's now in deep trouble with his girlfriend because he was like his initial text was supposed to be something along the lines of "can't wait to see you," right? And then what actually got sent was "can't wait for you to be gone." Something like and now the girlfriend's like, "Excuse me, who you busy with?" And he's like, "Oh my word, that's not what I meant. Like, I promise you, I'm not cheating. I'm not trying to kill you." And he's like, now in the doghouse because of what
I can't
occurred.
wait for you to be gone. How does your phone I think some of these things are malicious. Like the phone has some kind of internal programming that someone at Apple or Samsung or wherever or whatever software you use to do this is laughing because they've now figured out how to really mess with people's lives. I have sometimes typed something, seen that it was going to come out right and corrected it before I sent it.
Mm-hmm.
And-
But most of the time, if you're a texter like me, where I'm just like send,
No.
I only realize afterwards. Oh shucks!
By the way,
there's a spelling mistake.
Ryan, just come over here to Simphiwe's mic. We gave you some shit just now for slamming the door, but it's not you. That door does not close normally.
No, it doesn't. Even
Yeah,
Ben just
I
apologized
know.
to me now.
Yeah, because he slammed the door, and I suddenly realized it's not you.
No.
In a passive aggressive, like, oh, fuck you moment. You're closing the door.
But
it's-
now I'm wondering, all the guests that come onto the show, I wonder if they think I just have anger issues.
Yeah, they think you do.
I think so.
They definitely do. Yeah.
That's
Especially when you wear those sleeveless West Rand tops. Then they really think you've got a problem. All right, yeah. No. Now watch him get passive aggressive with Simphiwe because the camera isn't right. All right. So Carl says, if I ever get invited to Garrett's house, I'm going to eat lamb and drink rum the day before so I can have epic cuck in his house. Well, you never, I promise you, you'll never be at my house, Carl. Ever. Ever.
You're not doing that.
All
Respect people's rules as well, please. Please.
Yeah. Some people are still very, very upset about what Ben said about the old people dying on the golf course. I have to say, this is not, Simphiwe and I do not endorse that approach. We were quite horrified. But Ben reckons if someone old gets struck by lightning on a golf course,
We do not represent the views
fine.
of Ben Kopinski.
Yeah, he actually said it's fine if it's an old person. That's what he said. There are a couple of news stories that I don't really want to get into because nobody cares. Like Jamie Foxx received celebrity support after he was hospitalized. Who cares? Kate Middleton says she's more nervous for the coronation than her kids. Who cares? Ed Sheeran was thinking out loud in he won his copyright case. But thank goodness, because he was thinking out loud and he said if he didn't win, he would quit music forever.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were very worried about that because they were like, well, what songs am I going to play at my wedding?
Yeah. And he's such a cool dude. He doesn't ever wreak havoc in the industry. Like, he's one of those, you're a good one. Stay.
All right. Well, I got an email from somebody who I think is really interesting. I often pass these on to the producers, and then I just kind of hope they'll mail the person back and say, oh, I'm terribly sorry. The show is very busy. We're so full. There's just no time. I don't think we can talk to you. But this came through to me, and I thought, wow, this sounds really interesting. So I got this on email. Our team are a mixture of Brits and South Africans. We spent the last 13 years taking ridiculous vehicles to utterly amazing places in all corners of the world. During the pandemic, we decided to walk out of our respective corporate jobs. I love people who can do that. They have such balls. Follow us for more career advice, they said, and run charity vehicle races full-time rather than simply ad hoc events which happen every 2 years or so. The Africa Rally is a brand that was established for purely selfish reasons. I love how honest these guys are, and this is why it got my attention. We decided the yearly route should be our favorite overland route through Africa. We start near Hartbeespoort, South Africa. We finish 3 weeks later, just west of Hita in the Lake Victoria in Kenya. And our team must fundraise for a charity close to their heart. We provide an award for the team that has raised the most money, and they cross the finish line at that point. VW Combis, including an ice cream van, Ford Cortinas, and Fiat Pandas are all on the roster for 2023. These dates are 1st July to 22nd of July, and I'm thrilled to have Paul Clayton in the studio. He's dressed like he's on holiday, which I love. So, dude, well done on the email, because that got my attention, and I was like, we've got to talk to these people. You're a nutcase. Clearly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I like that. No, I love it. So you just grab weird-looking cars, and you do your own rally all the time, and you've been able to do this without having to have a corporate job or real-world problems like the rest of us?
For the last couple of years, yeah.
Damn, that is extraordinarily cool. Well done.
We did our time in corporate, though.
Yeah.
There was a good sort
What
of
did you
8
do
years.
before this?
So I originally qualified as a lawyer. I'm sorry.
Ugh.
And then worked in sort of corporate contract negotiation and sales for about 8 years.
Yeah.
11 months doing something I hated for the trade-off of 1 month doing ridiculous expeditions in different corners of the world. During the pandemic, that company sold and reassessed what I wanted to do with my life, and figured instead of doing 11 months for something you hate and then 1 month doing something you love, flip it on its head, do 11 months with something you love. And then if you do need to quickly go and make some money on the side, then we'll make a plan.
That's amazing. And you managed to do all of this. Was it a post-pandemic kind of reassessment, or was it just something that occurred to you and you thought, well, bugger it, I'm going to do this. I don't care anymore.
It'd been sitting there for a while, definitely. The expeditions were getting more and more ridiculous. You know, the first one we did was in 2010 through a couple of mates of mine at the Adventurous, which was London to Mongolia in a vehicle that had to be less than £1,000 sterling and less than a 1.2 litre engine.
And you put these rules in yourselves?
Yeah.
You apply the most bizarre rules. I just want to show some people, some pictures rather, of the cars that you've taken. So this is obviously in Botswana, just judging by the signboard. This is like a combi, like a real hippie combi with a roof rack and everything.
Yeah, unfortunately though, it's the least reliable vehicle in the fleet, because the old sort of 76 combis are fantastic, but unfortunately some idiot put a Ford 3-litre V6 motor in the back. So overheating is a constant problem.
These two. Now there's a Ford Cortina, is that right?
Yeah, the Mark IV
and a
1980.
Wolseley.
Yep.
Jesus, dude.
So the Cortina I absolutely love. That's been with me all through Africa. You know, we've done up and down this route a couple of times in that car.
Those things are pretty much indestructible.
Yeah, I mean, it's sitting outside right now.
You drove it here?
Yeah, it's daily driving.
Wow. And I mean, people say mean, rude things about the Ford Cortina, but it is a survivor.
It is, particularly if it's the Kent motor, the 1.6. It just goes on forever.
Well, here you are fixing the brakes on that Cortina. You replaced the whole bloody wheel. And this was what happened here?
So
where is this, first of all?
So this is in KZN on the way to Giant's Castle.
Okay.
And the tarmac road on the way out is pretty iffy. So we decided to take the dirt road. However, I wasn't particularly happy with the slow speed we were doing. So I was keeping my foot on the accelerator and left foot braking.
Ooh.
Which is great fun, but then you set the brakes on fire.
Yeah,
and that's the upshot.
But I mean, it sounds like a huge adventure. Who do you go with? Who are your like teammates when you do this stuff?
Mm-hmm. So it varies from expedition to expedition. The guys we're working with at the moment are a fantastic crew. So mixture of sort of 4x4 overlanders and just fantastic maniacs who love jumping in old vehicles and going to see the world. So the workshop probably listening at the moment will be Hein, Kevin, JJ, and Joe, and they're kind of our core crew.
And other people are desperate to do this with you, and you guys raise money for charity, which is always good. I mean, listen, if you can have fun, awesome. But if you can have fun and do something good, even better.
Mm-hmm.
And I always kind of raise an eyebrow to people who want to go to the South Pole or climb Kilimanjaro, but they want you to pay for it.
Yeah.
But you're not asking anyone to pay for your cars.
No.
Whatever you raise goes straight to charity.
Absolutely.
So it's not a business.
No, I mean, I haven't had a single penny out of the business since we set it up, which seems to make my accountant very nervous.
I'm sure. I mean, how are you living?
Well, when we got out of corporate, I had quite a lot saved. So the idea was either sensible decision, try and put a deposit down in a tiny little box somewhere in the UK. Ridiculous decision, move to South Africa, set up a charity rally company.
And having set up that charity rally company and obviously having pounds, you could have bought like 3/4 of South Africa at the current exchange rate. So you did very well. It was a good decision.
It's something I've never regretted, put it that way.
I think it's really cool. What other cars have we got here? We've got a Jag, but it's got a roof tent on it.
Yeah, so that was definitely a pandemic purchase.
Look at that. That is horrible. What a horrible thing to be.
Well, the Jag is basically the most ridiculous car for trying to traverse any sort of sand.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, let's take it across North Africa.
Where there's only sand.
Yeah, exactly. And we realized we were guaranteed to get stuck. So we thought, well, there's nothing worse than trying to have a pitch a tent in the middle of Mauritania or something.
Now, aren't these countries also very dangerous sometimes? I mean, you must have encountered like warlords and nomadic tribes and people who wanted to take you hostage. I mean, didn't we just get a South African back from Mali?
I think so.
Some dude, or they try and gift of the givers is trying to bring this poor motherfucker. He's been held there for so long. His wife doesn't even recognize him anymore. She's probably moved on and got a new husband. Who knows? But you go into places like this willingly in cars that are not particularly well suited to this stuff. It's not like you're doing the Dakar rally with sponsors and cars that are designed to handle the desert and not have any petrol in them for 3 hours and still drive.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost guaranteed to get stuck at one point. And one of the reasons why we sort of encourage the ridiculous vehicles, partly for the adventure, but, it breaks the ice with everyone that you meet. So, yes, we can be going into relatively dangerous places. But if someone turns up in a brand new Hilux with tinted windows looking like you've got plenty of money and you're worth kidnapping, people are probably going to think along those sort of lines. Whereas if someone rocks up in a Hawaiian shirt and board shorts in a 1980 Cortina,
they're going to think you're dangerous or crazy. And either way, they don't want anything to do with you.
Well, most of the time, they're the friendliest people in the world. And the thing is, a lot of countries in Africa gets very bad press internationally. And they show the images of something kicking off, but they're showing one street, and 0.001% of the population. And certainly, yes, we've had our dodgy moments here and there.
Like, what are the dodgy moments? I mean, how dodgy does it get?
Mainly when we were doing the West Africa trip. So the reason why, well, one of the reasons why we chose this route for the Africa Rally from South Africa to Kenya is because it is very, very safe. When we did West Africa, we tried to do a homage to the Dakar Rally that you mentioned,
right?
By driving the original route. Although we called it
I
Plymouth to Dakar.
I got a picture of this. Here's the Plymouth to Dakar that you were doing. That's the Tropic of Cancer that you went over there.
Yeah, and the
Sure.
vehicle there we picked up for £500 off eBay because that was the
eBay
challenge for
Wait,
that one.
you bought a car off eBay?
For
Yeah, for
£500.
£500.
You guys.
and it was
How bad was the car before you could set out on this?
Well, it
How
was-
much work did you have to do?
it was in relatively good nick, so we thought. There's a few sort of things that had to be cable tied together and whatnot, and it was working perfectly up until we hit a pothole in Mauritania, about 100 kilometers north of Rosso, and at about 60 miles an hour, the entire wheel decided to fly off and bounce a kilometer down the road. So we eventually fetched that, and you realize you haven't seen a car in about an hour and a half, and you've got desert in that direction and desert in that direction.
You thought you were going to die.
No, I don't know
You're
what I was
really
thinking at the moment.
optimistic.
Yeah,
you are like
positivity.
you're relentlessly
How?
optimistic. No, I love this. We were talking about having positive people around you earlier this morning, right?
Yes, but like when
Yeah.
it's a situation like that, I don't know if I could even.
He walked in this morning wearing the Hawaiian shirt. He said he's dressed for summer, even though it's miserable outside. So you are just sunny always, every day, no worries, enjoy yourself, things will work out fine, and clearly they have.
Well, I mean, a perfect example is how that story ended. So I set off walking back down the road we came because we passed a town a little while back. First vehicle that comes down, I sort of ask, can you give me a lift? We need a mechanic. They point in the back of the van. There's a mechanic sitting in there already because their vehicle had broken down just after us. So they helpfully fix ours. Then we go and fix theirs, and then everyone goes for lunch.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, you could have been stuck there for 3 hours without water or...
We had water, but and a case of beer.
We had water.
But
We
yeah,
came
things
prepared.
tend to work out.
So where do you still want to go? I mean, this sounds like you've got many plans to do, to traverse this continent and others.
Well, I mean, we've always wanted to do the entire course of the Nile.
Oh, wow.
But for the core, I mean,
Sudan is a bit of a problem at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we originally started planning this 2018, but obviously there was the war in northern Ethiopia, the Tigray crisis, and the Sudanese border was shut. Then we followed Kingsley's Warm Cape to Cold Cape, where they went through South Sudan in the box, and we thought, well, maybe there is a possibility around this.
Yeah.
And then obviously we saw the news a week or two ago, and we're just like, okay, this one's going to have to be shelved for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I don't think that the Sudan is necessarily a good place to go right now. Look, that whole area is actually quite tense. I mean, again, things change on the regular.
Yep.
And you might find yourself able to go into parts of, West Africa that you thought were not navigable not so long ago because the government changes. There's a coup somewhere and suddenly there's order.
Yeah.
Or the opposite,
No, it does happen. Occupational hazard.
All right, so you source these cars on eBay, which is just wild. And some of them you keep. Do you still have that terrible car that you took, the 500-pounder that you bought on eBay for the Plymouth to Dakar? Do you still have it, or do you get rid of some of them?
We don't actually. It's in Senegal. It's a bit of a weird story.
You left it there.
No, for that rally, we were raising money for SOS International Children's Villages.
Okay.
And we went to meet Constant, who was running one of the projects there, with the idea of giving them the expedition first aid kit and a few of the tools and bits and bobs that we couldn't take back on the plane to the UK, and then we shipped the vehicle back with a company that we've been using for years.
Yeah.
We got to the project. We were chatting to him. We saw this old 4x4 with its wheel off and everything on the side. So I asked what was wrong with it, sort of in some delusion that I could potentially fix it. And he was talking about wheel bearings and all the rest. So I quickly sort of backed down. And then after a sort of 5-10 minute chat, I ended up giving him the car.
Amazing.
So hopefully it's still running around between the projects out there in Senegal. But that was quite an impromptu one. Most of the times either buying or getting rid of the cars is not planned. It just sort of happens.
I think this is amazing. Lots of people in the comments section are just thrilled at the fact that you're doing this. So how do you decide what charities you're going to help?
Well, historically, we've tried to choose one that we're personally aligned to in one way or the other and fundraise for them. And when we set up the Africa Rally, though, we wanted to do it slightly differently, partly because after the pandemic, everyone's needing a bit of help, but also people are much more inclined to raise money for a charity if it's something they're already passionate about. So instead of forcing them into something that we want to support, we said, look, we'd like you all to raise a minimum of about 10,000 Rand, but do it for a charity of your choice. So we've got a huge selection on this route, both international and domestic. We have our own company charities that we fundraise for, but we're pretty open about who people want to use.
So what are you doing in the time when you're not on the road in the car, going to these crazy places?
Well, there's a mixture. This year has been a lot of marketing for the rally. So we've been back and forward to Cape Town once.
And how many people have joined, by the way? How many people are already in?
So this year, probably a little bit undersubscribed. We're looking at about 20 teams or so.
That's not bad.
In future years,
what are you looking for numbers wise?
Well, future years, we want to cap it at 50 vehicles.
Okay.
So that's the absolute maximum. We only charge per vehicle, not per person as well. So if you can fit 5 people in your pickup, then you're welcome to bring them all along for the party.
So the more the merrier.
Absolutely.
Obviously, there's more people to die and more people to, if you decide to do that. All right. What is the car of your dreams in terms of shitty, weird cars that you would like to take on this rally that you haven't so far? Because Simphiwe and I know some pretty awful cars. We talk about them all the time.
I feel like I could give you my sister's old Polo, hey? Like, just get it off our hands already, because
sure
that thing has died on me
Yeah,
as
an
I'm
old Polo.
coming to work. So, yeah, hey? Good luck with that.
Well, there's a fairly ridiculous idea that's going on with the combi at the moment.
The same combi that we showed just now, this one?
Yeah, the same combi. Because that V6 keeps sort of exploding on me. We've been chatting to a couple of EV manufacturers and electric vehicle sort of providers, including the guys that do or are building the EV track up in Nairobi.
Okay.
Because we can't afford to do it ourselves, but we like the idea of what's more ridiculous than driving an old vehicle with a V6 in it, which is unreliable across Africa, trying to do it in an entirely electric vehicle, which is still 50 years old,
Right.
This is up George's alley now. You're talking his
right.
language.
Yeah, we'll get George on just now. George is the CEO of AutoTrader. He can show you some interesting cars on there as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, yeah. He'll be joining us just now. So yeah, you want to do this electric. I mean, the good news is they've probably got more electricity north of South Africa than we do here.
We are building in redundancies. I'm going to put a solar panel on the roof as well. We're
not going to help, is it?
We're not just waiting to plug it in. We'll come up with a plan.
Jeez, well, I mean, you probably end up okay just as soon as you're over the Limpopo. But south of the Limpopo, you're in big trouble. All right. I mean, that would be fun. Obviously, there are big cars and small ones and weird looking cars, and I love the idea of you taking this on as an adventure. What sort of things do you guys do on the route? Do you stop and have like a braai in the middle of the desert, or do you meet people along the way and some of them come with you in their own cars? Like, how does it all work? Because I've never been on one of these things. It sounds bloody fantastic.
It's a fantastic approach. It's a bit of a menagerie, I would say. So, the beautiful thing about the old vehicles is they are likely to break down, which means you are probably going to need to ask complete strangers for help. Which means
you've never thought to maybe have someone who knows how to fix a car on board your team?
Well, when I first started doing this in the Cortina,
it's never occurred to you.
We had a 13mm spanner, a tow rope, and a bottle opener. So if you couldn't fix it with a 13mm, you had the tow rope, and while you're waiting for someone to help, you had the bottle opener to open the beer. And that was the entire toolkit. These days, there's a little bit more in there, but I still wouldn't claim to be a mechanic of any sorts.
Okay. All right. I mean, people saying try a Beetle. Alan Redcliffe says try a Beetle. You're going to do that?
I think we've got a Beetle on the roster for this year. I think it's a 1985 old 1.8 air-cooled.
It does sound like you've got your old reliable in this Cortina. I think you can't drop that.
No,
how much did that cost you, by the way?
That cost me in 2018 25,000 rand.
Wait, we also need to ask, where did you get it? Did you buy it on Facebook Marketplace?
No. So basically, we were planning to do a trip up through Namibia and across. And I was a little bit tipsy in a pub in London, having still not found a vehicle, and my teammate, saying, "Come on, what are we driving? I was like, "Don't worry, it's all sorted." Meanwhile, nothing was sorted, and I found this thing on Gumtree, of all places.
Simphiwe is horrified. She won't even buy face cream and Gumtree. You're gonna buy a car.
So we actually agreed the sale and everything without seeing it while we were still 12,000 miles away and a few beers deep.
God, talk about making decisions without any of the due diligence that most people apply when buying a car.
Yeah.
Proves that you can have the world of fun if you just let yourself make bad decisions.
Yeah, completely. Particularly with old cars.
Yeah.
And when you break down, like I said, that's when you meet new people. That's when you meet fantastic mechanics. That's when.
And the worst that can happen is you end up leaving it in Senegal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the worst outcome. But you get to see the world. Okay, so you told us where you have been and where you want to go. Are there some places that you absolutely won't go? I mean, someone asked about the Congo earlier. I mean, I don't know what road conditions are like there, and I'm not sure that you won't run into like the Lord's Resistance Army or whatever. Yeah, or the Wagner Group from Russia. You don't want to run into them, right? And they don't have a sense of humor.
No, not at all.
And I don't think they have what are those terrible Russian cars called?
Larders.
They don't have ladders that you can bargain for.
One thing we learned the other day. You
could probably get a ladder for nothing, right?
Exactly. And the springs on larders are identical to the old Suzukis. So the Suzuki Jimneys and everything like that, the springs are interchangeable.
God, that's interesting.
Okay.
Wow. And not that you're, going to find a ladder just lying around.
You never know. There might be someone who's listening who's got one in the garage.
With his luck, he might walk outside and boom, there it is.
I can see the next Africa Rally winning car being a wheelbarrow with a lawnmower engine.
What, a tuk-tuk?
Yeah. Well, you probably listen. I don't know how those things survive, but they do.
Yeah, they do.
And those 3-wheel Mr. Bean type cars that could be quite fun to drive up there.
Old Reliant Robin.
There we go. Reliant Robin. What a ridiculous car. You know what would be hilarious, just because it was a horrible car and there are still a few of them around, and I don't know whether you could get spares for them or whether anyone wants to be seen dead in them or not, but it would certainly attract the attention of passers-by. It did when it came out, and it's still the ugliest car in the world, is a Mitsubishi, what's that one called with the funny lights? It almost looked like it was a deformed sort of looking car. No, hang on. It's called it's easily the ugliest car in the whole world. Someone will remember, but it's just hideous beyond belief. I'll try and find a picture of it quickly while we're talking. All right, well, this is bloody exciting, man. So this is your whole world right now. This is what you do.
Absolutely.
Your full-time job. This is your full-time fun.
Yep.
You got have you got a wife? Have you got a family? Have you got, is there any of that stuff in the future?
And there's none of that stuff at the moment. I mean, being in a different
very
country
difficult.
every
I don't
couple of
think
weeks.
there are a lot of women who are like lining up to be ignored for a couple of weeks while you're in the desert, for example.
Imagine the conversation, him coming back home. I just bought a car off eBay. What?
Yeah, exactly. She's like, but the children need food.
Like, what the? Are you crazy?
Well, even the
Multipler, the Fiat Multipler, that was what it was.
Yeah.
Ugly as sin. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'll find it for you. Oh my God. Multipler.
Fiats aren't the most reliable either.
Ugliest thing ever. Yeah, this thing. I'll put the picture up on the screen so you can take a look at that. Just the worst car in the world. And I'd love to see it really messed up. And what it would look like when it comes back, because they're already ugly enough when they're working and in good condition. So here it is. This is what I'd imagine would be the most horrible thing you could do in any car.
Oh,
see that thing?
That's
Fiat Multipler. I apologize to Mitsubishi for thinking it was one of those. It's a Fiat Multipler. It's hideous,
that is
right?
terrible.
Isn't that bad?
Actually terrible. It's
really
like
bad.
Sandwiched together two terrible cars. And
it looks like when Naledi Pandor puts on high heel shoes and the ankle kind of folds over the shoe. That's what it looks like. Anyway, all right. So no wife, no plans for any of that stuff. You must have met some amazing people along the way, though. Any like whirlwind romances, any friendships that you've kept going, things like that with some, some person who was wandering by in Mauritania.
There's been some fantastic whirlwind romances.
Okay.
A lot more sort of friendships that have lasted much longer than that, though.
Right.
Perfect example, the first trip that we did, which was London to Mongolia in 2010, I was standing outside.
Mongolia is about as inhospitable as it gets, plus the route in between is not exactly filled with rainbows and unicorns and sunshine.
No, and we went south through Iran and then up through the Silk Road as well. So we didn't take the easy route through Azerbaijan.
Easy route, being like winters are miserably cold, summers are unbearably hot, and everything in between is just basically inhospitable.
Pretty much, yeah. And we were in 1.2 liter Suzukis.
Wow.
Yo.
But yeah, I mean, we walked outside this hotel in Tashkent in Uzbekistan, And, we didn't know the city. We didn't know where to go. We didn't know where was safe and all the rest of it. No one spoke English from the receptionist out to anyone that we'd met. And a co-driver of mine asked the doorman for a lighter. And he replies back in the most fluent Queen's English you've ever heard. And we're like, hang on a minute. Turns out he's doing his master's degree in foreign languages.
In
English
Tashkent.
is his speciality. And he took us on a night out, and we still chat today.
In Tashkent.
Yeah.
In Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. You see, there's a huge part of me that is massively, massively jealous of people who get to experience things like that, because that's a story for, 100 years. You could tell that story and people will not believe you. And it's an amazing experience. Being in bloody Tashkent, meeting someone who's studying foreign languages there, who speaks perfect English, and then having a night out. I mean, like, where would you even go for a night out in Tashkent?
Sure.
Well, we started off with the sort of general local bars or Speen type places. And then he gets a phone call from a mate of his, and we end up in this, like, I'd describe it as like an old concrete underground car park. But they had a DJ playing, they had a bar set up, and there's about 300-400 people all dancing. And
Unbelievable.
It was a great night. Yeah, it was a properly good night.
Uzbekistan, capital of party. Uzbekistan, the fun stan.
Yeah, if you know where to go.
Wow. And Iran, you weren't stopped, and you had obviously a British passport in Iran. Not necessarily a good thing.
Well, I mean, this was 2010, so Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was still in power.
Okay, he was maybe better.
It's give or take, to be honest. But the thing is, as well, the standard person on the street usually doesn't have any sort of similar views to what the politicians are doing and what the sort of view of the government is.
Right.
So we ate brilliantly good food in Iran. Everyone that we met was very friendly.
I would love to go to Iran.
And very friendly country.
Very friendly, lovely. You didn't feel unsafe or unwanted at any point?
No, not at all.
That's great.
Not at all.
Oh, that's great.
And fantastic roads as well. Like, there wasn't a single bottle compared to Turkey and Turkmenistan on the other sides. The roads were actually brilliant in 2010, anyway.
And then Mongolia, where did you end in Ulaanbaatar?
Yes, so that was the finish line. That was the finish line. And at that point, I think there was about 3,000 miles of roads in Mongolia, only 183 miles were tarmacked. So it was washboard gravel and not good washboard gravel as well.
And what were you in?
A Suzuki Wagon R.
Yeah.
Jeez, this is George. Yeah. Don't you love this? What are you wearing, George? What's that hat?
Oh, George.
What the hell is this? What's going on here?
I had to compete with your guest, Gareth. I mean, come on, that should.
So you're wearing where did you find a hat like that in Tashkent?
No. So part of my story is got to do with this hat. So I'll tell you in a second.
All right, but isn't this Paul Clayton an interesting dude?
Very, very interesting dude.
What do you think of his?
All he talks about is cars.
What do you think of his choice in rally vehicles?
I think his choice in rally vehicles are pretty cool. I mean, recipe for breaking down a lot, but that makes it interesting.
George, will you look up what the worst car is, or rather, let's not say the worst. What is the cheapest car, and maybe the dodgiest car that you can find on your site right now? And let's see if we can get Paul to take any interest in that. And while we're doing that, you said you had a story.
Yeah, so let me just tell you about the cheapest car on the platform at the moment is a Renault. I'll send you a link to it.
Right.
Is a Renault Megane. There you go. Is a Renault Megane 1600 RXC for 10,900 Rand. I don't think this thing's going to make you a rally.
10,900 rands.
It's cheaper than what he bought on eBay.
It's very true. It's very true.
That's not bad. Well, let me put a picture of it up and you can see whether you're interested or not.
Yeah. Let's see how old it is, though, because the main thing that breaks cars on these trips is the electronics.
Okay, well, it has no service history, I'm afraid. Previous owners won. It is red. Does that help?
Yeah,
any of this piquing your interest?
Okay.
All right, so let me show you a picture of this thing, and you can decide. You don't obviously have to buy it. No, feel no pressure to have to buy it now. But this is interesting. All right, George, tell us your story while I put this picture up quickly.
Yeah, so I'm busy with my my senior executive team at the moment this week doing what we do is a quarterly strategic week. So we try and kind of look ahead the next 12, 18, 24 months, make sure the business is on the right path, and part of the steer is what are our BHAGs? What are we trying to achieve? But more importantly, are we making the next bold move? Are we kind of just taking the next step? So it's about the kind of next step rather than all of these ideas, because everybody's got freaking ideas, but hardly anybody executes.
So is that hat meant to help you think of new ideas?
Exactly. So I'll tell you about the hat. So we start off with, in my opinion, and I think one of the reasons AutoTrader has been as successful as it's been for the last 2 decades is that people are the sole sustainable competitive advantage of any business. The culture of a business, everything else layers on top of that. So I start off with culture in the week, and I get everybody to try and visually describe how they see the company's culture and what they think we should kind of change. So this is our marketing director's depiction.
That's a vision board.
Of our a vision board. Yes. So
Simphiwe is constantly making these around the office. This is what she does. All right, that looks cool.
So that's kind of a visual representation of our culture, and then they've obviously got to write a page so that we can take that and make it better. The propeller hat is we call it the dunce cap. So so it goes along with a bell. There's the bell. It goes along with a bell, and everybody in the room has an opportunity to ring the bell if they think somebody is repeating themselves, or if they think somebody is saying something absolutely off track,
stupid,
or carrying on a little bit long, or being stupid.
Oh, we need a bell like
and
that.
And then that person is obligated to wear this cap until they find the next person who is repeating themselves, not staying on point, or saying something dumb.
So people will pay attention. I love that. I think that's very clever.
Well,
just
it
by the way,
it creates momentum.
Just by the way, we've got a lot of comments on that McGahn. I'm just going to put it back up on the screen. This is the 10,900 Rand, I think it was. Yeah, 10,900 Rand. It's a deal. It's a steal. It's a sale of the century. And here it is. I haven't heard your reaction to it yet, Paul. What do you think?
You've got to love that paint job. I mean, you put an Africa Rally sticker right on the bonnet there, and you wouldn't even notice that there was a bit of sun damage there. No,
and by the way, a lot of people in the comments are saying, I mean, here's, for example, someone who says, Congo Chrissy says, that's a solid investment. Red is the fastest color. Everybody knows that, right?
100%. That's why we have Africa Rally Red on everything we create.
Beautiful. All right. So our own Mash has said in here, that Renault is nice. How? So Mash wants to buy it. If you don't buy it, he will. Look at this, George. We've got a contest for the cheapest car.
I see that.
He could buy it and enter the rally in it. There's still places left for 2023.
George, what would your rally car be if you had to do a silly rally and you had to go into dangerous places with Paul Clayton and his team?
My rally car.
Something that you wouldn't mind screwing. You mustn't get something that you don't mind ruining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the funnest vehicle to do a rally like that in would be one of two vehicles. Yeah, a tuk-tuk. I think a tuk-tuk would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Or a open top VW Beetle.
Ooh,
nice.
Ooh, with the dust, open top.
Ooh.
And the sun as well.
And the sun, you will be burnt. I mean, you will be burnt to a crisp.
Yep. Yeah, the tuk-tuk's a nice idea, though. A little 150cc four-stroke. You got plenty of time to look at the scenery in a vehicle like that.
Slippery Pickle says you cannot go wrong with an old Mercedes C-Class. I think that's a good bet.
Or a Merc W123. They're solid.
Yeah, right.
Wait, is the Merc W123 is that the Kushesh?
No,
what? Merc W1? Please. You're talking to two professionals here. Which Merc do you want? The Mercedes?
W123, I think is a classic.
Let me look for it. Oh my God, that is what our ministers during apartheid used to drive, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. They loved that car, and you can still see them all over the place. I'll put a picture of that up.
Yeah, spare parts for days.
Yeah.
Any garage between here and Kenya, you'll find spare parts for it.
Days. Oh, I love it. All right, here, Simphiwe, this is the car we're talking about. Right, just so that everybody who's not, you need visual stimulation for these things.
Oh,
there we
this.
go. That's what you want.
Like my gran used to drive one of these.
Your gran, there we go.
Yes.
That's the
Gareth,
one.
if you Google 325 shadow line, some people was talking about the Gusheshe. The 325 shadow line is the Gusheshe.
Okay. All right. Would you be interested in one of those, Paul?
Well, I mean, the W123 is a classic. The other one though, I'm struggling to visualize it.
I'll find it for you now.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've got a red one for you. I know you like red.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you got to go with a red one. Oh, this is so much fun. All right. What do you think, George, is probably if you did have to spend money and money was not an object and you had to go into really tough terrain, where would you go? What would you buy?
What did I buy? If money wasn't an object,
money wasn't an object, yeah, you could spend as much as you want, and you can leave the car in Senegal. It doesn't matter because you're just in for the adventure. What would you go for?
I would definitely go for a Toyota Land Cruiser.
But that would actually get you there. If money was no object, and you could bring an entire sort of crew of mechanics and fuel and everything else with you, and still not get there. Surely you'd buy a 1986 Lamborghini Countach. Like,
yeah, then I'd go for something that is not going to get me there.
All right, here's the Kashesh. By the way, this is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's a lovely thing, that.
All right, that's the
Good
3
luck
to 5
making
eye
it out
shadow
of South
line.
Africa with this thing.
Yeah, no, you won't. This thing you'll be hijacked before you even get to Limpopo province.
Now just keep it in first gear and put your foot to the floor. It'll be fine.
Is that what you guys do when you sense danger?
Well, I did have attempted hijacking a couple of months back, yeah, but again was already in first gear, so just drove off.
Okay, well done. You see, that's the way
Wow.
we're learning new things.
Okay.
All right, George,
Exactly.
before we wrap up for this morning, you've got some other stuff you want to throw in?
Yeah, well, this conversation is much more fun, Gareth. But I'll throw in one or two things. What are the most random things you think are on the Uber? Because Uber produces this list on an annual basis of things left in Uber cars. What are the most random things people have left in Ubers?
Random.
Yeah.
I know what. So I'm just thinking about, because whenever I've spoken to Uber drivers, they always talk about these terrible people they pick up late at night who are drunk and who throw up in their cars and all that kind of thing. I'm thinking the obvious ones are like wallets and phones and condoms and that kind of stuff. I mean, I can't imagine that there'd be a lot of exciting things. I mean, people aren't leaving, I don't know, Renaissance statues in cars.
I will take a giant keys.
Yeah.
Well, talking about keys, I'll skip to that list. Seeing as Simphiwe said keys, so the people do leave their car keys in Ubers. The most common car key left in an Uber is a Toyota, followed by Honda, followed by BMW, followed by Jeep. Those are the keys left in Ubers. So Toyota is the most left key in an Uber.
Well, I reckon that the single Toyota with the most number of keys left is probably that Cortina. That's a Ford, but there we go. There's the Ford Cortina. That thing's big. How many keys do you even have for that?
Well, actually,
do you have a spare?
We don't have a key, so
You guys jump started.
No, we don't jump started. We got into a little bit of trouble in Namibia back in 2019, and both the keys were removed, shall we say. So I had to break into and hotwire my own vehicle.
So how do you start it now?
We put a push button start on.
And you don't lock it?
No, we do lock it, but there's a trick with it.
Okay, he's not going to say the trick right now.
All right, what else have they found in Ubers?
So I mean, the normal stuff you would think, which is pack of condoms, cheesecake, a toy poodle, rat.
Toy poodle?
Rat?
Wow.
Toy poodle and a rat. But what's interesting is in terms of like high value items, like branded items, the most left in an Uber branded item are Nike goods. So that's the most left branded item, followed by Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Samsung, and Apple products.
There's someone who left a Gucci something in.
Well, if this is a reason to start your Uber business.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And a very honest Uber driver as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, because they actually admitted this and gave it back. All right.
Yeah, they would have had to. They would have had to.
All right. Well, I'm curious about like any of the less high value items, because I think those would be the interesting ones. Not the expensive stuff, because people will they'll phone and get those back. They'll be embarrassed. They forgot about it, or they were drunk or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I suppose if you left your phone or you left an Apple product, you're gonna phone to try and get it back. But if you left
phone from what? Listen,
I didn't get that until that.
I've got to throw in a quick public service announcement here, because apparently if you leave something in an Uber don't pay these guys to return the stuff, and then they have to come back and find you at their own expense, and you have to pay them for that ride. They don't automatically get paid for it. You made the mistake of leaving something in the car. If you do, it is not Uber's responsibility or the driver's responsibility to return that to you. You have to pay them. Mm-hmm. You should always pay them. You got your phone back or whatever else you did when you were drunk and stupid.
Yeah.
You need to pay them back. And people don't do that. Yeah. And so that's a serious thing I want to throw in there.
I don't know. I wonder what this is in South Africa. But the top towns or cities in America where people are the most forgetful in an Uber, Jacksonville tops the charts, followed by Miami, Houston, Atlanta, Palm Springs, and St. Louis.
So basically the top 5 biggest spring break destinations.
Right. Exactly. Where all the drunkest people are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. Well, at least you didn't leave a whole car in Senegal.
No.
that's a separate thing. All right, listen, that's all we got time for this morning, but thank you very much, George. We will see you next week. And of course, you AutoTrader have got your own show, which is on Monday. Don't miss that, because they're always talking about interesting things. They've got all of the important information there. And Paul, what a pleasure to meet you, man.
Thank
Glad
you
you
very
emailed
much.
me. What an exciting life you lead, and what exciting stuff you do. You're inspiring other people to do exciting things.
It's a lot of fun. And on the inspiring other people, I'd say if people do still want to get involved,
tell us where we can get hold of you.
Our website is really easy to find. It's africarally.com.
Beautiful. I love a simple, straightforward website address.
Yeah.
africarally.com. It tells you what it is. No buggering around with
Love it. Just open the URL.
Org. There we go. Go and take a look and join up. What the hell? Do what Paul did. Maybe you will find that your corporate, boring, horrible job that you hate so much that has got you trapped in this endless cycle of doing the same thing every day can be dumped.
My job.
I'm not talking about you, George. You've got the most stupid headwear in the world on your head right now. Exactly. So I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about other people. If you're bored, there we go. If you're bored, then go along to africarally.com and see what Paul and the other guys are up to, and you might want to just throw it all to the wind.
100%.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. Have a happy Friday. We will see you